I woke up this morning feeling like my period was coming down early. It's like every year around this time in July, I change from menstruating with the new moon to the full moon. I knew it was coming before I even got out of bed. I've gotten so close with my body that I've learned the subtle ways that she informs me of what's coming. So before breakfast, before I had some coffee, before I started my day, I got up and walked to the store. One thing people never talk about when they romanticize traveling full time is that your body doesn't stop needing care just because you live in another country. You still need to take care of yourself as you did before. And oftentimes, it looks very different from what it did before. Every time I move somewhere new, I have to figure out which brand of pads I'm going to use. At first, I didn't think it mattered that much. A pad is a pad, right? At least that's what I used to think years ago. Now I spend way more time than I ever imagined standing in grocery store aisles, drugstore aisles, reading ingredients, pulling out Google Translate, trying to figure out which ones are made with pure cotton and which ones are full of fragrances or other things that I really don't want sitting against my vajayjay for hours. Some months I get lucky in certain places and immediately find a brand that I like and that works for me. Now, some of the other months, since definitely I've been in Colombia, it feels like starting the search all over again. It's one of those tiny inconveniences that nobody really tells you about when you decide to live out of a suitcase. But thank goodness my next country is Amazon friendly and I can order my items from there. I'll share the links to my pinned comments to my favorite pads. As I started making breakfast, I found myself thinking about how different my periods are now compared to a few years ago. I used to think suffering every month was just part of being a woman, having the cramps, being super tired, the heavy bleeding, the irritability, the feeling that your entire life had to pause for a few days because your body was demanding all of your attention. And I was a 7-day period girly, and it used to be really heavy. And it was so common that I never questioned it. Although I come from a lineage of women who've had to have hysterectomies early. Everyone around me talked about periods like they were something that you had to survive as a woman. So I accepted that story too, shit. But looking back, I don't think there was one thing that changed everything for me. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just a pill, it wasn't just the food, it wasn't some type of magical product. It was a collection of small decisions and shifts that taught my body a different experience. So I did start eating differently. I was very much so more intentional. I started paying attention to how much water I was drinking and making sure I stayed hydrated throughout the month instead of trying to, play catch up. I stopped treating rest like it was something that I had to earn and like it was a part of my life. That was probably one of the biggest parts. Because for so much of my life, I wore stress like a little badge of honor, always working, always producing, always trying to stay ahead. And even when I wasn't physically doing something, my mind usually was. And I don't think I realized how much tension my body was carrying until I finally started putting it down. Living as a nomad has changed that in ways that I never expected it to. People assume that the biggest gift, is just with seeing beautiful places. And don't get me wrong, I am very much so grateful for that and the views that I've had. But I think the biggest gift has actually been time. Time to wake up without rushing. Time to cook my meals instead of grabbing something on the way to work. Time to notice when my body feels different because I'm present and I have that time to slow down and listen. Now, I still have some stressors, travel comes with plenty of that shit, okay? From delayed flights, apartments not always working out, hard beds. Sometimes, oftentimes, there's a language barrier. And sometimes I can't find exactly what I'm looking for at a store. And life still happens, but the stress feels different now. It's no longer a constant. My nervous system finally has room to exhale. I really believe my body feels that. I also started paying attention to the products that I use during my monthly cycle. And that one was a major surprise. because I didn't think that the type of pad that I was using could make such a difference, but over time I noticed the patterns. I started using the L. Period, the Walgreens brand, as well as Honey Pot, all of those that don't have any, of the chemicals and things of that nature inside of the pads. It made a total difference for my period, and they didn't leave me irritated. And they also helped lighten up my period, because the other ones, they wasn't as good. The Always and all that jazz, yeah, they had me always buying and leaking through. Okay. But now I look for pure cotton pads wherever I go, and tampons when I decide to want to use those. But I try to avoid unnecessary fragrances and as many extra chemicals as possible, and has it been easy while traveling? Absolutely not. Because sometimes I haven't been able to find what I was looking for. I found it in El Salvador. I found it in Brazil eventually. I haven't been able to find it in Colombia the months that I've been here, and sometimes I've had to just settle for whatever is available until I go somewhere else where I can order it online and it's not an arm, a leg, and an organ. But the thing is that I know what works well for my body, and thank goodness these times when I've had to use other products, it hasn't affected me as much. And I think that's because I put such a strong emphasis on the other areas of my life of reducing, so I don't have those problems. I don't have cramps, and my periods are now much lighter than what they used to be. I used to be a 7-day girly. Now I'm a 5-day girly. Couple heavy days, the other ones, slow rolling. But my past, my periods are not something that I dread anymore. I see those as a time of my body recalibrating. I slow down. I do nothing. I allow my body to sleep more. I cater to what it is that my feminine energy needs. I feel like my period makes me so freaking feminine, and it makes me, be more connected to myself as a woman now. I see it differently. But it took time to get to this dang on place. You know what I'm saying? Because instead of feeling like my body is fighting against me every month now, it feels like we're working together. It's because I started paying attention to what it had been trying to tell me all along. I think as women, we've been taught to expect discomfort as if it's simply part of the experience. And that's not just with our periods, that's with life. And maybe for some people it is because of other issues that they may have. But everyone is different. And I'm only sharing what I've noticed in my own life, And what I've learned is that my body responds to how I care for her. She responds to what I eat, how much I rest, how stressed I am. She responds to what I put on my body and in my body. And she's always responding. And I think that's something that I appreciate more now than I ever did before, because we're not taught that. And most women were taught to be in very stressful ass situations. And we don't realize that stress affects the natural flow of our body and the workings of our body. When I learned that a lot of autoimmune diseases came from stress and how we handle our body, I realized that society has it out for women in a way that they want us to be stressed out, Because if we're in alignment, we don't go for all that super crazy capitalism. We don't go for all the toxic-ish. Like, we're less controllable when we're balanced. So it's like the world, the patriarchy, it needs for us to be unbalanced, It needs for us to not fully know ourselves. It needs us to not be in peace. I'm a firm believer that your monthly period is an indicator to you of how stressful your past month was, of the health of your environment. I really feel our environments matter. And, when you look at different illnesses and different problems such as asthma and things of that nature, your environment plays a major role. So if you're constantly in stressful ass environments and settings, that's going to affect your body. negatively. But when you start to remove that from your life, you notice that things are much different. And as I sit down to eat, I realized this morning wasn't really about buying pads. It was just another reminder that no matter where I live in the world, my body comes with me. Every new country asks me to learn new streets, new language, new routines, and sometimes finding new feminine products. And funny enough, constantly changing places has made me feel more at home in my body. But anyway, breakfast is ready. I found me some pads that work for this month, hopefully, and my body seems happy. And honestly, that's enough for me today.